Good evening. We call the meeting of the City of Hawarden, Iowa to order on Wednesday, July 26, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. All present are council and staff, other than staff Pam Wakeman. Short agenda items tonight, but still important items to discuss. We'll start with the standard agenda item number 1A, approval of the July 12, 2017 City Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Travis, second by Tim. Questions or clarifications? All in favor then of the approval of the July 12th City Council meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. This evening's claims for payment have been in your packet. We'll start to my right with Monty.
Nope.
Travis, questions?
None.
Tim? Payne?
None, thank you.
John, questions?
None, thanks.
Hearing no questions, I'd entertain a motion for claims for payment.
So moved.
Moved by Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Payne. All in favor then of the approval of the July 26 claims for payment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, that passes 5-0. 1C is open business from the community. Hearing none, we'll move to the mayor's report. Our community's thoughts and prayers are with those families that lost loved ones or had family members injured in the sudden accident in Alcester this past Monday. We're also thinking and caring for the other residents and staff at the care center. Please support those that have been impacted by this tragic accident. We want to thank and to congratulate Dan and Jan Kane and Jim Tawes on their groundbreaking this morning Oak Hill Assisted Living. We thank them for making this investment into our community. Please support the Hawarden American Legion with their hamburger and corn feed this Thursday from 5 to 7 at the City Park. A staff member from Senator Grassley's office will be at the Hawarden Council Chambers on Thursday, August the 3rd from 2 to 3 p.m., an opportunity then to visit with their staff. And lastly, we want to congratulate the West Sioux softball team and the West Sioux baseball team on their great seasons that they had this summer. We all appreciate their hard work and their dedication. Any comments from council at this point?
What are we doing to the median on the west side of the library?
Tom, you want to?
Remove the old bushes that were not trimmable anymore and plan on putting rock in there and some easier to care for plants.
Any other council comments? If not, we'll move to staff reports, and we'll just continue with Tom, please.
Just have one thing, the seal coaters will be here on Monday, so.
About how many blocks are we doing this time?
It's about the same as we usually do, about 50,000 square yards. So.
Time to get out the pickup.
Gary?
I did receive an email regarding the street lights that were removed on 10th Street. We still have some remaining pillars and junk to remove out of the right-of-way. I think there's 6 or 8 of them yet, and we just haven't gotten to them because we had a gas main that had some issues down in Frog Pond that had to be replaced, and the guys have been on vacation. They will be getting those out in the next few weeks here. Just wanted to let everyone know that. The auditors were here today for, doing their preliminaries. They'll be here for 2 weeks. They're going to do their audits a little differently with less people this year and longer period of time. So they'll be here for 2 weeks starting the 14th of August. And just a reminder that upcoming elections, I got notice from Lisa Rowenhorst regarding the elections, and there will be 3 seats available or up for election this year, and the papers will be available as of August 28th, and it will need to be taken out on August 28th or later, and have to be back in by September 21st. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Jim, anything from your point of view?
No, nothing.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Nothing as well.
Okay, thank you very much. City Council and staff just concluded a nice tour at the hospital, and we'll invite Jason to come up and give another hospital update so the community can hear.
Good evening. Thanks for the time and thanks for your attendance today. It was a real pleasure to show you the new organization. We're pretty much, I'd say 99% complete. The old wing is opened up now, and you can walk completely around in a circle and get to pretty much anywhere you need to. The old patient rooms have been fresh coat of wax on them, and they've been cleaned up. There's some painting that needs to be done, and there's some flooring that needs to be done in the lower unit yet. And then the lower unit is the main, it used to be the main entrance for registration, and so there's some flooring that needs to be done, and that's where the doctor's sleep room is. And then down where the old physical therapy, they are connecting the tunnel underneath and finishing up the flooring there, and that's going to be the new materials management and housekeeping offices, and that's where we'll store all our supplies. And so they're working on that, so within the next couple weeks, that should all be finished. And then throughout the rest of the summer and fall, we'll be taking the second floor and then moving people around and getting people into the appropriate offices and laying down carpet and putting new paint so it looks professional down there also. And so there's a lot of activity that still is going on. Streets opened up, which is great. We're going to chip seal that on Monday. Appreciate all the assistance we've gotten from the city on that. And it's been a real good project. If you drive around and you see dead trees, we do have a year warranty on those, so some of them will make it and some of them will not based off our hot weather. And then we are looking at different landscaping options for the side hill. It's kind of weedy and we need to take care of that yet too. So crabgrass is growing strong. The other grass is coming, but it's slow. So give it a year and then we can start putting some chemical on it and cleaning that up so it'll look nice then. So any questions that you have?
Nope, I appreciate the tour, appreciate all the council members and staff being there, especially pleased with patient numbers and financials from there and how nice that facility looks and how well it flows.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's the last budget I see that I received from our Samuels group is that we were about $1 million under budget, and so that's really a great accomplishment to get that most of it done. There's still some dollars that will flow out of there, but we will be under budget at the end of the project, which is the ultimate goal. And so I'm really pleased that we've had a lot of challenges, but we were able to mitigate some of those and keep things under wrap throughout the whole project. So it's been really a good experience.
I appreciate your staff's patience and also the communities with the
Absolutely.
project.
Yeah, and now, like I said before, we hear patients coming in and they're really impressed with the new facility, and I think it's been a great addition to the community and something that the community can be proud about.
Very much so.
Yep.
Good. Thanks again for being with us.
Thank you.
This evening we have Lori with us, the Hawarden Public Library Director, to give an annual report. Welcome, Lori. Thanks for being with us.
I have one additional paper for you guys
Okay.
that didn't get included. I'm sorry about that.
Good, thank you.
Sorry. I got all this out. Okay. There we go. Thank you. Okay. Well, I was reading through the city code about libraries, and it says I was supposed to do an annual report. So, I don't know, my understanding is you haven't had this happen in the past. Mainly, what I'd like to tell you is, over the past fiscal year, which ended June 30th, The library has seen, a lot of changes, and there are more to come. One of the biggest projects of this coming fiscal year will be carpeting the library and replacing shelving in the children's area. Part of that, a large portion of that, was grant funded through the Hawarden Community Foundation, and we are very grateful. The rest of the money was due to a surplus at the end of the budget year. I never anticipated that I would start and 7 months later we'd have a surplus. So a much needed project, but will definitely give a really big facelift to the current library. In our report, I kind of highlighted some of the major things that happened as far as the library building, getting smoke detectors installed. We haven't had any major issues. Now what happens if a smoke is detected or a fire, I would get a phone call, the fire department gets a phone call, and for after hours, that's a huge thing in terms of safety of the library. Moving on to the circulation, libraries traditionally have seen a decrease in print circulation over the past 5 to 10 years. This is nationwide, mainly due to this resurgence of electronic usage increasing. And we did see an increase in electronic usage. The challenge with electronics, resources is they are so expensive. We have a small budget and we use it to the fullest, and by cooperating with other libraries across the state, we have buying groups that can stretch our dollars basically, and we have shared collections. Typically, an electronic version of a book would cost a library about $70 to buy. Print books we can buy for $20. So for us to go out and buy individual titles, we can't just go to Amazon and buy them. We have to buy them through resources like Overdrive, and they charge libraries so much more, and then we can only use them for usually a year. So that's why we're not, we have a pretty large collection that's shared through the state, but we can't afford to buy numerous titles digitally. And I did kind of break it out so you could see where, how Hawarden, we have almost 1,200 patrons that checked out almost 14,000 items this past year. Obviously, we do have a few that live outside of the county. In total, we have about 100 patrons outside of what Hawarden and Ireton and rural Sioux County. So not a huge number, but they do boost our figures. As far as our collections, we are actively going through and adding items on a weekly basis. And also, I've been going through and kind of cleaning up records. So we did see a large number deleted, but a lot of that was, obsolete records. Obviously, the items no longer exist. We can't find them, so some of that work is, just cleaning up and getting things a little more organized. We did gain some new statewide databases as of July 1st, and we just got the authentication set up so that our patrons can use it. So that is something new at the library as well. Programming is always very popular. In the coming fiscal year, we will be adding some new programming, adding evening programming for people that work, adding more programs for kids and teens. So I think we will see, a jump back up in program attendance. The summer reading program, we did more programs than we have ever done, and they were all very well received. I had numerous, comments from parents. Thank you for offering dual sessions, morning and afternoon, because my kids have ball in the morning, or they have swimming lessons, or they have this or that. They could choose which worked for them. And I also included in your packet our new strategic plan that was voted in at the last board meeting. That serves to guide the library over the next 5 years. What our goals are, that is a major part of our accreditation with the state, which provides us with state funding for from the state library. So I encourage you to read through that, see where the library is going, and last of all, the sheet of paper I gave you tonight kind of gives you an idea of money that you guys give us goes a long way in providing service to our community where patrons don't have to go out and buy stuff. We are always very happy to buy things that people suggest, and I've had a lot of patrons surprised that we're willing to do that. And so I think that's a really good thing. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. Thank you again for letting me come, and I'm glad I could provide some information to you, and I encourage you to stop down by the library. October will be kind of the start date for the carpeting and the shelving, so there will be a lot of activity going on down there, but it's going to be awesome. We're all excited, so thank you.
Good, Lori, thanks for being with us tonight. I especially appreciate your evening speakers and those folks that you bring in. And you have a good group of board members there at the Hawarden Library Board.
Definitely.
Yep. Appreciate all you do. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 5, again, is further discussion on the fireworks ordinance and its outcome. I received 2 letters from community members. Did we receive any other input from the community through the office?
Nothing that
That
I'm
we don't
aware
have
of.
in our packet here?
So that was just those 2 items, so.
Okay. And those are in your packet. I know the letter that Roger Johnson, the chairperson, Veterans Affairs Commission, put in the Hayward Independent in regards to veterans with PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder, and to keep them into mind. And also received a letter from David and Mary Helgevold. Says, hats off to Roger Johnson for bringing to our attention the effects of fireworks, especially loud ones, on our veterans. We as a community take pride in honoring our vets, witness the fine park and listing of the names of the veterans and notes of when and where they served. There are no doubt some whose names are listed, as well as those who are not, that have witnessed combat and the trauma that goes with it. The idea that they must relive these events through the indiscriminate blasting of explosives a couple times a year and be forced to hibernate in a basement or a closet to escape reliving terrible experience seems to be cruel and unnecessary. We as a community could do much to lessen this possibility by either curtailing, pardon me, or at least time limiting the exposure they must face. If we cannot end the exposure, perhaps we could limit where it can be legally be done to a particular site, such as the ball fields at the south end of town. Our opinion is that we owe it to our vets and pets to end what seems to be what seems to be ever louder explosions. Thank you, David and Mary Helgevold. Those were the 2 that the city received. Any comment from council? Did you receive any comments from any other citizenry at this point? I know we as a community with the ordinance have really pared down what the state had offered for the rest of the state of Iowa. Are there areas that we need to look at this point in regards to the fireworks ordinance? Or leave it as is and continue? Thoughts?
I don't know, for me, growing up in South Dakota, it wasn't a big deal. I've been used to it all my life. It's just something new for everybody to get used to for this year, and each year that passes, I think it'll be easier. The big, louder explosions we were here, and I did hear some people say they would have been in violation of D and F of our ordinance. I mean, they were altering the devices, and at that point, they're explosive devices and not fireworks anymore. So,
I don't understand what you just said.
I heard quite a few of some of the larger explosions were sparkler bombs, and actually taking the fireworks and modifying them to create a larger explosion. Once they're modified, they're not a firework anymore, they're an explosive device.
Difficulty,
still
obviously,
illegal,
with that
so-
would be
What would you know?
patrolling, right?
That's,
It'd be a hard
it's
thing.
just difficult to curtail. I mean,
How are you going to prove that they've been altered after they've been exploded?
that's
Exactly,
the
yeah.
I
problem.
mean, there's,
Yep.
I mean, that's the first I heard of anything being altered.
Yeah.
I know the fireworks were louder. I talked to people that were selling fireworks, and they were selling a lot louder fireworks, and I still believe that since it became legal, people were before it was illegal, and we kind of overlooked some of it, but they were somewhat controlled, or the smaller stuff, all of a sudden it became legal, so then we're discharging the louder stuff because we can.
I wasn't paying any attention when I was a kid, but I always thought in South Dakota that unless it was a professional setting off a display, they were kind of limited. All I ever saw was like a silver salute was the biggest thing that you could buy. But, you know, I'm not aware of what the limitations really are, if any, in Iowa. You know, they referred to the national fireworks in all of the laws. I read it, but I never went and looked at what that says. I can look, but now, I was in the Black Hills. I didn't hear any of them out there, so it's going to be hard to police.
What have surrounding governments done? What did the supervisors do?
Nothing.
What did Sioux County, or what did Sioux Center do?
Center did nothing, Rock Valley did nothing, Orange City did nothing. They left it for the whole 38 days, and from what I understand, they got a lot of negative feedback for not doing anything, and they're going to take another look at it and at least shorten the period of time. A lot of communities throughout the state are taking a whole new look at it. Some are going to outlaw them altogether. Some are going to shorten up the time frame that they didn't do anything. It's just kind of a hodgepodge on what they're doing.
The biggest request I heard was just, the loud mortars, if we could restrict those times. That's at least a compromise, but how do you govern what was just a rocket versus a mortar?
Right.
It seems some people weren't quite informed of what hours were allowed. Some seem to be shooting outside. I think that offended more people than anything. When they anticipated it being done, it wasn't done. But
Really beautiful on the 4th.
yeah, it was really nice.
Watching it, and it was as good a demonstration as a lot of the professional places you go to.
I appreciated that the council took the measure and staff to shorten the state's timing. That just seemed to be way too long, and
Right. Yeah, I've heard comments about stuff being way too long as well, and it wasn't greatly received.
I think it's pretty well, at this point, pretty well done for us, so maybe we'll,
Till next year, just see if, the first year is going to be everybody, oh boy, it's legal. Maybe next year it'll be more responsible and maybe worse, I don't know.
and prior to that, we will try and put out the message about those
Yeah.
folks and pets and those types of things. Hopefully they can pare it down, just make the ones that look pretty instead of the bombs, so.
I definitely would agree with the PTSD situation. I've talked to people that suffer from that, and it's
Certainly.
the triggers for that are quite alarming sometimes. It's so subtle, or stuff you wouldn't think of, so I can imagine how that was received by them.
Well, at this point, we'll leave it as is and maybe try to get more education prior to 4th next year again.
We
Agenda-
have New Year's coming up.
Right. We do have New Year's.
Good point. Do you think, anybody sell at New Year's,
Yeah,
though?
but that's awful cool. I can't see that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Point, yeah, we
I'm
will.
wondering what we'll have. I mean, in Iowa, New Year's is.
I'm sure there will be people selling over New Year's.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what, a 7-day period?
It was the same, wasn't it, for both?
And we shortened that up too to what, 3 or 4 days, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's the first year there will be somebody. I heard fireworks here the other night. few up around my neighborhood.
Jackie.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It's
Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on to agenda item number 6. Committee's put together a profile, ad placement, and salary range for the city administrator position. That's in your packet. We also talked about where, where we will do the ads for that. And as usual, the committee wants to stay very focused with the council members and see if their thoughts are what we have put together on paper there.
I need more economic development and less city administrator. Personally.
We also had a question, and legally, whether we can do that for having the person have their residence here in Hawarden. Can that be worded preferred, or?
I don't think I'd put it in the ad. Let me look into it a little more. I'm not, it depends upon the need. I mean, I'd like to visit with Gary a little bit about the job too. You know, his hours, is when he has to respond. But let me look into that before I say for sure. When are you going to do this?
TikTok.
Advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, TikTok, yeah.
So I'll let Gary know what I think tomorrow then.
Is it as much procedure as it is perception?
Perception.
Yeah. And I think you could probably administrate Hawarden from Akron procedurally, but I'm not sure that you're going to be accepted. I'm not sure I can mandate it.
It's far preferable to be in town, but
Yes.
what I get out with the mandating, and I think even with Gary, there was a period of time when he transitioned, and if you have someone who's selling their house, I mean, it could come up, somebody in Sioux Center, you're advertising in Sioux Center, you hire somebody from Sioux Center and they have a home over there and they decide they're going to sell it. Is he going to have to come live over here while his family lives in Sioux Center?
I've seen it advertised where they say with the intention of locating to town.
Relocating.
I think that's a requirement that can be dealt with internally rather than publicly.
Yeah. Well, let me, I'm not sure there's anything that makes it necessarily illegal. You're not, but I know there's been some things on that in public employment where it makes some difference whether it's important to the job. So just let me look, because I don't want to go put it in an ad and then find out that we can't do it.
Right. Ad placements and salary range. As we talked, pretty, salary range is pretty like other communities with our size and utilities. And then we'll have to, obviously, our heads together how and when then we will be doing interviews and who will be a part of those. Quite frankly, I can't remember how we did Gary's when you were here, so maybe we can get that information disseminated to the council to see if they'd like to do that in the same manner. I can't remember who was all part of those interviews at that point. That'd be agreeable to council. Okay. All right, anything else with that? Okay, we'll continue with our timeline on that. Last agenda item then is a consent agenda for liquor license transfers and a renewal of a Class C liquor license for the Eagles. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Tim, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Our next regular meeting will be held Wednesday, August the 9th. Is there a motion for adjournment? Moved by John, is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Payne. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're adjourned. Thanks again for being with us on the tour.